What's up guys, it's Rowan here from Artist Smart TV. And with the new HSC syllabus in play, there were some changes to HSC Modern History. And today I'm sitting down and chatting to Anika, who took HSC Modern History and scored an incredible 96% in it during her HSC. And she's going to be sharing with us the strategies and the tips that she found useful to navigate it incredibly successfully. So welcome Anika. So first of all, once again, congratulations. I mean, you did amazingly well for Modern History. Now, was Modern a favourite subject of yours?
Yeah, I did all three histories, so it was definitely one of my favourites.
Wow, so that's 5 units of history. So that's Ancient, Modern, History Extension.
Yes.
Now, for HSC Modern History, how did you find the course?
Really loved it. I've always loved history, so it came pretty naturally to me, but I liked the changes that they made. I kind of liked how they took away multiple choice, for example. I liked the structured essays that they brought in. I just thought they were I think the changes were nicer than English.
Awesome. And so, what was the favourite part of the course for Modern History? Do you have a favourite part?
I really enjoyed conflict in Indochina, and that was essay-based. Even though it was a lot of work, I think that was probably the topic that I had to do the most for. I found it really enjoyable. Also, the core unit, Power and Authority, is really interesting, and it looks at Nazi Germany in a way that maybe you haven't before, and that was nice.
Modern history is a pretty content-heavy subject, and you've already touched upon that in terms of just a lot of content. What did your study look like week to week for Modern History? I
initially, in class, started handwriting my notes, and my teacher was really organised, which was nice. She would kind of do PowerPoints most lessons and then talk us through them. So I would kind of copy down the PowerPoint and then write little additional notes based on what my teacher was saying. And then I tried to do like once every 2 weeks or so, I would then copy the notes onto my computer in Word and organize them, cut them down as best as I could, and just do it nicely so that I'd want to go back and revisit them. And as I was doing that, I was lucky enough that my teacher was always open to new essays and paragraphs. So I would be doing like probably an essay a week, maybe more, to be honest. And just like practicing, or like my source analysis, for example.
Was that handwritten or typed essays?
So for the source, okay, so there's like the core unit, and then there's the civil rights, which was, I think that was the one where it's like structured essay, and then there's the source sometimes. Those were handwritten. And then I would get feedback on my essays typed before I then went in and started to write them, because I wanted to make sure my ideas were concrete. Because in history it's sort of a bit different to English, because you have to make sure the content is right before anything. So I wanted to make sure that was right.
So you're writing week to week, you're doing study notes, you're writing, if not a full essay, like an intro and a para or a plan, and you're getting feedback, so you're getting a tight feedback loop on that throughout the journey. What else, were you doing anything else week to week, or was that?
This isn't so week to week, but definitely leading up to my exams, I began to teach my notes out loud. And I had this little whiteboard in my room, and I would just pretend to be a teacher. And that was the best way for me to learn the content. I didn't necessarily do that with my essays, but I did for the other two parts of it. And
so then from a memorization point of view, what did you find to be the most effective? Because as you said, you need to get your content right as a starting point for Modern. How did you memorize it all?
For my essays, so I had a ton of essays. I think I did nearly every dot point for the 2 essay topics there were, and I wrote a full essay on each. So then once I had written them, the best way was speaking aloud. And like I would speak it aloud, and I'd make sure that I knew it, and then I would write the paragraphs in dot point form. And that just really condensed it and made sure that I knew it. And like especially the statistics, you just have to know them. Like there's no way around it. So I would speak it aloud as much as I could, and then I would handwrite, and I'd do practice exams. So I would do, leading up to an exam, I would do 4 3-hour practice exams with time, and I would start open book, so I had my notes, then I'd gradually go to closed book, and that was the best way. Writing and speaking aloud were the best ways for me to memorize.
In all of this as well, you're doing all this memorization. It sounds like, were you memorizing essays for Modern, or because there's so much content, right? Do you just learn the content, or do you write some essays and bet on them being in there? Like, how did you navigate that?
I did memorize my essays, and I know everyone says not to memorize essays, but because Modern was so content-based, and I knew that my essays were good going in, so it made me feel better about myself to have them memorized and have like my articulation of the content memorized before going in, because it stressed me out less than just having a bucket load of content. Like, to me, just going in with content seemed like a sea, and I had to like fish, where I didn't want to fish. I just wanted it to be handed to me. So I would memorize.
Fish to jump out.
Yeah. So I memorized essays, and it was more structured for me in my mind.
So then how did you navigate if you got into the exam and there was a question that wasn't an essay that you had written? Did that happen?
Yeah, it did actually. Well, I did it for the two essay-based modules. I did it in a way that I had an essay on pretty much every dot point.
So with preparation, it's why you were writing an essay almost every week throughout the terms, right?
Yeah. But in my HSC exam for modern, both of the dot points were sort of similar to, like, if the conflict in Indochina, the dot points kind of overlapped, but I hadn't done the two that I got. But because I had known my ideas, and even though I hadn't written an essay for those dot points, I had still done a really thorough plan, and I just brought in, because the content overlaps. You can use the same content, and I would bring that in to the plan that I sort of remembered from home and made it work, and combine the content with the plan, and then sort of integrated some other ideas from a plan that was similar.
So you're writing essays, you're writing plans, and what I'm hearing is that you memorize them, but ultimately, because you had done that much practice, you were prepped anyway, even if you got something that you hadn't seen before.
Yeah, so I made sure that my essays, even like I wrote them to a specific question usually, but I made sure that they were quite adaptable and really flexible, so that I could go into any specific question, and like even if it was arguing a different point to what I had sort of said in my essay, it was flexible enough that I could manipulate the same statistics and ideas to fit that question.
And then do you have any, I guess, final tips for students navigating HSC Modern History, any advice that you'd offer them to help them excel?
Yeah, so because there is a lot of content, try and keep up with your notes. I know for one topic, because I handwrote in class and then would type, I was behind on typing, like my notes. So if the more I kept up with that, the better I could memorize and sort of keep it fresh in my head, so that I didn't do it at the end of a term and then have to wait another term to then write the new notes. And another definitely top tip would be to practice in exam conditions. I know it is 3 hours and that's a long time, but because you've got the 4 sections and it's a lot of writing, the best thing to do is to time yourself, time each section, practice with really hard questions that sort of make you uncomfortable, and then go in as confident as you can, knowing your ideas.
So there you guys have it, some really practical suggestions to help you navigate the HSC Modern History course. I think the key there really is, as Anika highlighted, know your content and practice. There's no shortcuts ultimately to doing well in a course that is as challenging in terms of the breadth of content information that you need for HSC Modern History. If you have any questions about studying for Modern History and navigating it, leave it in the comments below. One of our team will get back to you. We'd love to help you. If you do need specific support for Modern History, we also have a team of amazing teachers, tutors and mentors that can help. Otherwise, if you haven't, hit subscribe and we will see you next week.